Well, hello there. Welcome to Hanging with the Hags. Well, today is another day and another project. And today we're out in the garage. Actually, we're finishing up a project for the barge. Actually, not really finishing. This is just the next step in the project. And what you see behind you is one of the rails for the barge. Now, we had these pine 2x6s laying around in the garage. And so rather than going and buying some pressure treated lumber, which you would normally use for outdoor occasions, I decided to go ahead and just utilize some of the wood that we had laying around. But to do that, I want to do some protecting on it and wanted to bring out some of the color. And so we're doing a technique today called Yakisugi, which is a Japanese wood burning technique. And you use a blowtorch, and then you kind of paint the wood with the torch, and it brings out some of the striping in the wood, which is pretty cool. The technique is also called Shou Sugi, and I think that technique is more of where you're doing the dark burn of the wood completely black, and then wire brush it, and then it's kind of that protecting of the wood. This, I'm just doing a light burn on it. Gonna bring out some of the coloring, and then we're gonna polyurethane over the top of it to give it some protection. So I'll show you how this works. So I got a blowtorch with the nozzle, and contrary to what you would think, using it this way does not work. The gas will stop. So this bottle likes to maintain upright. So as you're burning the wood, you're kind of turning the wood one way or another to keep this bottle upright. And I usually put this on so that you got a pretty good flame going, probably about halfway, I would say, open. And then on this, the longer that you stay in one spot on the wood, the darker it's going to get. The nice thing about this is there is no right answer. You can completely burn the wood as much as you want or as little as you want. It's completely your preference. And that's why this technique is so fun. Usually keep the bottle about 3.5 to 4 inches away from the wood. And then I typically like to go left and right on the wood. And then what that allows you to do is really get to see how the wood is burning. And then you can kind of continue a similar pattern all the way down the length of the wood. Additionally, I'm on a rolling chair. This actually helps really good because you can go left and right down the whole board and kind of just roll along with it. You'll see that some of the wood burns really quick, and in other areas it doesn't burn very much at all. And I have to believe that that's some of the sap that's in between each of these lines, that sap is kind of igniting and burning the wood. And it's just kind of fun to watch how the torch burns the wood and kind of just see how it progresses and how it really kind of just paints a picture. And then if you get to an area where it kind of circles like this one, you can just kind of go back and forth on the edge of the circle. And then in the middle here, it's a little light, so just kind of back and forth until it gets a little bit of color in there. And then like in this area, it's kind of an open void. I tend to like to kind of darken that up a little bit too. Now I typically do about half the board, then I kind of come underneath a little bit here. And then what I'll do is I'll tip the board down so that I can get this leading edge here. And once I got that done, then I'll just tip it up on the other side. Now this orange spot right here, that's a bunch of sap that's just, you can kind of see it just kind of flaming. So I tend to like to try and get as much of that burned out as possible so that it's not sitting underneath the polyurethane. And then as you look back, you see a spot that's a little lighter, then you just bring the torch back in and darken it up until you're happy with it. It's kind of the nice thing about this is there's really no right or wrong. It's just completely your preference. You could go really light. You could go a lot darker. It's just completely how you, whatever look you're trying to achieve. That's kind of what makes this so fun. And then when it comes to the end of the wood, kind of nice, you just bring the torch right around and you can see how all of those grains all kind of just come out as you put the torch on it. And now we'll go back, take a look at this side, and yep, I see a couple of areas that I'd like to darken up. This is it's a really very forgiving technique too, because in theory, if you got this too dark and you came back and you're like, it's a little too dark, do a little bit of light sandpaper over the top and it's gonna tone it down a little bit. Where when you're working with stains, I feel like stain is more permanent, where this is a little less permanent of a technique. You can change it if you want it, you can sand it down, you can darken it up. It's a little bit more forgiving. But generally, it's just fun to do. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and continue doing the rest of the board. Thanks for watching. We're gonna get these polyurethane today, and hopefully by tomorrow, we'll be putting these deck rails on the barge. And I got the motor back from the shop, and the barge will be ready to roll. Well, thanks for watching. Share, like, and subscribe. And I know we're not out RVing, but it has been nice to be at the lake house, and we're going to be here for the rest of the summer hanging out. So as these projects come up, I'm going to bring you along so that you can see what Hanging with the Hags are doing for the summer. Thanks for watching. Yabba dabba doo. We will be at a campsite near you in the fall in the south where the weather's going to be nice. Thanks for watching.